seen you. You've seen me. What, in town. I mean, you tried not to. You thought you could just blink and I'd vanish. But I'm like that annoying rash you just want to scratch away. But your mother warned you that scratching only makes it worse. So until the next train comes, you'll hear me. At least with half an ear. You've got 12 and a half minutes. The sun won't even come up by then. Yes, you will. You with the stiletto heels and leopard clutch. Well, they think you're the first one in the office every morning because you're so eager and efficient. But they don't know that you can't wait to get out of the house every morning as fast as you can. And you, 50-something Princeton frat boy, you're such a go-getter, but you've forgotten what you're getting and where you're going to. And then there's you. Well, you don't have a choice. I mean, you have to punch in early. You're relieving the graveyard shift. All of you. It matters. See, that's the important part, the essential part. It matters. It matters. It matters. It matters. Pop those two words deep into your brain and then into your heart and then finally into your bones. It matters. Because if it doesn't, you've got a vacuum, a black hole, and an abyss. And you can't wrap your hands or your heart or your brain or your breath around it. It's amorphous. Robert came home a couple of hours ago. Well, everybody calls him Bob, but I prefer to call people by their proper name, the name they were baptized with, because, well, I mean, in case God's listening, it's best to use a name he'll recognize. See, Robert's the man whom I live with. Yeah, I took a big chance taking him in, because in Section 8 housing, they have very strict rules about allowing a companion. And the inspectors, they show up without warning. See, I couldn't let that stop me. Didn't I? He's the man I fell for. Who fell for me. We used to just eat each other's faces in one gulp. That's how hungry we were. So when he came home today, his breath reeking, I said to him, Robert, do you know what time it is? Do you have any idea what time it is? It was 4:16 a.m. And he just looks at me with a kind of glazed look in his eyes and a kind of smirk in his eyes and on his lips, and he says, it don't matter. It don't matter none at all. Well, first you need to know that Robert is not some dumb redneck, okay? He knows to say it doesn't matter, not it don't matter. He does it to spite me because he knows it makes me... See, I know I can go overboard sometimes. Like when my friend Loretta says, Fred and me went for a drive. I try to hold it in. But 10 to 1, I'm gonna blurt it out. It's Fred and I. It's Fred and I. And she'll just look at me and roll her eyes and say, whatever. See, I should add that I am currently taking English literature and intro to world philosophy classes online. And I belong to wordoftheday.com. Well, I'm sorry. I'm doing it again. Robert says I do it all the time. I do have a most circuitous way of telling the story. So I say to him, it very much does matter, Robert. It certainly does matter because you're just being so in your face about it, and that is just brutal and totally inconsiderate of my feelings. I have been up all night worrying about you, picturing you under some car, the blood gushing from your belly, oozing from your brain, and the car, a mass of burning metal, and well, that's just not something that's acceptable to do to another person, not acceptable or defensible at all. Where have you been, Robert? No bars stay open this late. Have you been with another woman, Robert? Have you? Just tell the truth, let's just have it out. Have you been with another woman? Mrs. Stiletto, and now you're listening. You know what I'm talking about. He looks at me and he says it again. It don't matter. I know what you're thinking. Why does she put up with this? But you're also thinking she is way past her prime and off her meds and lucky to have any man at all. I know, I'm not stupid or naive. And you have no idea what meds I am or am not on. But it wasn't always like this. You never saw love turn sour. It's like old milk. And it curdles and it smells so bad. And just makes your stomach lurch into your throat. So I say to him, it matters. Trust matters. Love matters. Robert. And he just looks at me and he shakes his head and he chuckles and he walks right past me into the bedroom, mumbling under his breath over and over, it don't matter, it don't matter, it don't matter, till it starts to sound like a song. Yeah. It has a kind of lilt to it, which doesn't make any sense because when you think of a lilt, you think of something happy and light, not vicious and mocking. He walks into the bedroom and he slams the door. It's too hard. It doesn't shut. It pops back open, and then I start to feel the jitters coming on. So I take some deep breaths and I walk back into the kitchen to make myself a cup of mint tea. And I'm standing over the stove and I'm putting the tea bag in my favorite mug. It's what he bought me at a fair. It's got half a heart on it, and his has the other half, and when you bring them together, it makes a whole heart. And then he screams. He is swearing up and down, and then I hear these loud hissing noises from Flannery. Flannery's my cat. Yeah, I named her Flannery after Flannery O'Connor, the writer. She's one of my favorites forever. But she writes about loathsome people like serial killers, but yeah, there is a point to it, which is it's finding grace in unlikely places. Do you have a cat? Yes. And you? Well, this next part might be hard to hear. See, Flannery is pouncing and tugging at the covers, and her claws are starting to scratch Robert. She used to do that when she'd see us in bed together, which is why I always lock the bedroom door. And Robert is trying to fling her off like a wet rag, but she is holding on. She is not playing now. She is clinging for dear life. And so I race in and I say, calm down, Robert. Just calm yourself. I'll take her out. But though I came in to make things better, I am only exacerbating the situation because as mad as he is at Flannery, seeing me and the chance to get my goat, is simply irresistible. And he yells, "You don't own me!" And then he gives me a look. It's mean. It's right mean. And then he does it. See, I don't know if he planned it or if it's something that just came to him, but just like that he does it, and it all happens so fast I can't do a lame thing to stop it. In fact, I can't even breathe. He grabs Flannery by the scruff of the neck and he slams her against the wall and she yowls. And she lands on her back. And very oddly, her forelegs just stretch out on either side of her while the rest of her just stretches out straight. And then she looks at me one last time with those big green eyes. And she just slides down the wall, crumbles into a black heap, like a punctured trash bag. And she lands next to the chest of drawers my mother gave me. It's when I keep my lingerie and birthday and Christmas cards in. And just like that, it's over. And Robert, he just yells a great yellow growl. It don't matter! I don't scream or cry. I walk back into the kitchen. And the kettle is whistling. It's loud and shrill enough to make a body wince, so I shut it off and I grab it by the handle and I walk back into the bedroom and stand over the bed. And Robert has fallen back asleep. Still, I keep one hand hidden behind my back, holding the kettle just in case he stirs. And I say, "Now, hear this, Robert. It matters. What you did matters. Everything else is just existential claptrap. And maybe it's okay for great writers and great philosophers to say that all is nothingness, but frankly, though you are a relatively smart guy if you take a national average, and you are skilled at fitting new bathtub skins over old ones so people can feel better about who they are or sell their house for more money, you are definitely no Jean-Paul Sartre, so you're not entitled. You're just like the rest of us, just another working-class human being. And since you couldn't possibly make a cogent argument as to why it doesn't matter, you have to live with the fact that it does matter. And if you imagine that it doesn't, if you think you can play God, that you have the right to destroy, to willfully and cruelly destroy a kind and beautiful and gentle creature simply at your whim. Well, if you believe that, and then you act on that belief, you'll just have to suffer the consequences. Robert is snoring when I release the kettle with one finger and pour the entire pot of boiling water all over his face. He screams and he swears and he tears at his skin, which is now a bright shade of crimson. And then he tries to shield his eyes and then tear them out of their sockets. And I just leave. I am here now because it's important that you all hear this so that you know and so that you never forget. It matters. All of it. Every little bit of life matters, and none of us is better than anyone or anything else, and none of us has the right to do what Robert did. So there you have it. I do have to get back now. Now he'll be needing me to nurture him with patience and TLC. It was such a terrible and unfortunate accident. I mean, of course I'll tell them everything. I'll tell them how he was so drunk he didn't know what he was doing when he grabbed the kettle by the handle, and will they believe me? Well, who's going to tell them otherwise? You? You? Or you don't even see me.